welcome to another episode of Boring History. My name is Angela and today we're going to be talking about the Barbagatse and Heinzelmännchen. What do these two have in common? Well, aside from the fact that they're both a type of gnome, not a lot. However, there's also not a lot of information that's easy to find, at least that I could find, on either of them to make an entire video, so I thought, why not combine the two of them together? If you're interested in one type of gnome, maybe you'll be interested in another type of gnome. Think of it as a bonus. Anyway, let's just get started. A Barbagatse is a type of gnome that pops up in French and Swiss mythology, and occasionally you see it in Austria as well. These creatures are said to reside in the Alps or in any other high mountains that have a lot of snow. So as you've probably guessed, this means that these are not your average type of garden gnomes with little red hats. But it doesn't mean that they're not cute. Well, actually, I don't know about cute, but they are fluffy because they're covered in white fur and they have a long beard. Their long beard apparently looks like icicles, and it's said that this is where they get their name because it's apparently derived from two French words which mean frozen beard. Although some sources claim that the name actually comes from some Swiss words which means frozen beard. Maybe there's a confusion with Swiss French and French. I don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. I think for now we'll just accept the fact that their name has something to do with their beards. Now there are also female Barbagatse, but it's said that they're so covered in white fur that you really can't tell the males and the females apart unless you get very close and personal. Now I'll just quickly mention as a footnote that some sources actually say that the Barbagatse wear white fur clothing rather than being entirely covered in bodily fur. But anyway, aside from their white fur, the Barbagatse are also distinguishable by their enormous feet. These unusually large feet act as snowshoes and they let the gnomes easily traverse around the snowy countryside. There have even been instances where the Barbagatse have been spotted using their large feet as skis, meaning they can run very quickly across the snow or even ski down almost vertical slopes on only their feet. They also use their feet for digging. So for example, if a Barbagatse has to hide, they can very quickly dig a hole to hide in. Or if they happen to be unlucky enough to get caught in an avalanche, it's not really a big deal because they can very easily dig themselves back up to the earth. Now, if they happen to be lucky and notice an avalanche in advance, they also enjoy a spot of avalanche surfing. Now, again, unlike your more common garden variety of gnome, the Barbagatse like to hibernate in their caves and tunnels during the warmer months and only appear after the first heavy snowfall. This living arrangement is also why not a lot of people have actually seen a Barbagatse. Not a lot of people wandering around the Alps in the middle of winter. And the Barbagatse generally don't enjoy going around for strolls if the temperature is above zero. And for this reason, they also prefer to make their homes as close to the summits of mountains as possible. Now, if by chance you happen to come across one of these gnomes, I'm going to give you some advice. Barbagatse are not evil, so they're not going to go out of their way to hurt you. However, they're also very suspicious of people that they don't know. Stranger danger. So if you find yourself in a conversation with a Barbagatse, choose your words wisely because you don't want to inadvertently offend one. This is important because if they like you, they're going to help you along your journey. If they don't like you, well, they're not going to push you off a cliff, but they also won't warn you about that avalanche that's about to come down behind you. And whistling to warn people about coming avalanches and digging people out of avalanches is definitely a thing that they like to do. Barbagatse also communicate with each other via whistling sounds. And it's said that their whistle is actually very similar to that of a marmot. Marmots? You know, those cute little weasel, ferret-looking things. So the next time if you're out in the mountains and you think that you hear a marmot, think again. Barbagatse also sometimes help shepherds round up any stray sheep that have gotten a bit too adventurous and lost their way. Now apparently there have also been instances where a Barbagatse has been captured and then brought down from the mountain to the village below. But unfortunately, when taken out of their natural habitat, the Barbagatse rarely live for more than a few hours. And on that depressing note, let's move on to Heinzelmännchen. So this type of gnome actually finds its origin in Cologne. That rhymes, not intentional, but it does. But as we go through this story, I'm sure you're going to see some similarities with brownies. Because this type of gnome is very happy and they really like to do chores. Now the story goes that once upon a time there were so many little Hainzelmännchen in Cologne that all the citizens could just spend their days lounging around because all the hard work was being done for them in the middle of the night. So for example, the baker never had to bake because every morning when he opened up his shop, the fresh bread was already there. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? The only thing that the people of Cologne had to adhere to is that they were never allowed to see one of these little Hainzelmännchen. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had somebody who was willing to do my chores for me every night, I would be more than happy to just let them do their thing and not disturb them. However, the wife of a tailor was not content with this arrangement at all, and she decided that she just had to see one of these little gnomes. At first, she just tried to stay awake and spy on her husband's workshop so that she could watch the little Hainzelmännchen as they appeared to do his work for the night. But she always ended up falling asleep, and because she was such a heavy sleeper, she never ended up waking up when the Hainzelmännchen did eventually appear. Until one day she got so fed up that she threw peas down the stairs of their house all across the workshop so that when the Hainzelmännchen did appear, they would trip, fall and hurt themselves. She figured that if they got injured, then they wouldn't be able to run away, and then that way in the morning she'd finally be able to see one. However, the Hainzelmännchen were not stupid and they worked out what the tailor's wife was trying to do. And they got angry. All they had ever done was try to help the people of Cologne, and now somebody was trying to hurt them? Just not on. They all got together and formed a big procession with music and singing and dancing, and they left Cologne forever. Now you may be thinking that at least this means the people finally got to see them. But no, they were still invisible. They just made sure that everybody could hear them leave. Rub salt in the wound. Because now the people of Cologne were left all alone. Why do I keep rhyming? Because now the people of Cologne were left all on their lonesome to do all of their chores on their own. Does this story remind you of a children's story? One involving shoes, perhaps? Maybe some elves? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope maybe you'll consider subscribing because I look forward to sharing even more boring history with you in the future.